Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again for another episode of Creativity and Compliance with my cohort in crime, Ronnie Feldman. Ronnie, welcome back.
Good to be here. Hello, everybody.
So, Ronnie, we have had over the past 18 months, 2 years, several guests that have been clients of Learnings and Entertainment that come from what I'm going to call very conservative institutions. One was the Bank of Montreal, BMO. The second was U.S. Bank, and the very conservative institutions, not surprising for financial institutions. But what struck me is they were able to overcome internal conservatism to work with you and your creative team. What do you say to someone that you're sitting across the table and they say, Ronnie, we'd love to have you, but we're a conservative business. Our leaders are conservative. We sell to a conservative market. Our customers are conservative. We're just not sure you're the right fit for us.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was having an epiphany the other day, and I was actually talking to a family member, and he was saying, I guess you're dealing with this really risk-averse community. Compliance officers are inherently risk-averse. They're trying to avoid risk for their organizations, and yet you're selling this really creative product. It got me thinking that mostly, I'm a relatively positive person. I think of an improv mentality like yes, and we got to be helpful and supportive. We got to talk about in terms of values and benefits and things that can help companies. So talking about the positive of things that we can do. And I still believe that's the way to go in terms of communication, to talk about what can we do and how does this help? But the epiphany I had was like, you're dealing with risk-averse people who are thinking, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? So what I want to talk about today is let's talk about what could go wrong. Like, what have you got to lose? Why not? Let's talk about these concerns that I think are mostly unfounded, but let's talk about it. Based on how you teed us up here, Tom, if you just want to go based on example, we personally have tons of examples of global, diverse, conservative by every measurement factor organizations having great success using short, entertaining, sometimes comedic, sometimes musical, sometimes entertainment infused training and communications. There's precedent. It has been successful. It continues to be successful both inside in compliance and outside of compliance. So it's an easy one to debunk. You're conservative, but your conservative approach to training and communications isn't helping, because what we are ultimately presenting is a better way to influence behaviors and mitigate risk. So I start thinking about, all right, who the stakeholders are. What do the lawyers say? What do the general counsel say? What does the compliance officer say? They often will go, look, we can't be frivolous. We can't make fun of it. We don't want to undermine the message. These are common, I'll say, misconceptions. Let's talk about it. There's so many examples in the real world of very serious subjects that are enhanced by being more engaging and entertaining. Airline safety videos, they've started making those real fun and interesting because guess what? No one's paying attention to safety. And they pay more attention when you make that interesting. I was thinking the other day about, I grew up with, I can't even remember the name of it. There was like all the comedic charity benefits that were about like cancer or AIDS or hunger. We Are the World. It's always some piece of entertainment highlighting the importance of these tragedies or problems in the world. Right? And they raise so much more money when it's entertaining. In the insurance commercials, Geico, Progressive, Allstate, they all use fun comedic takes on their products to promote the benefits of their products. And they don't undermine their products, they enhance them. They are in service of the message. To sum up, there's a difference between having a difficult conversation and a conversation about a difficult thing. You could separate the message from the delivery mechanism. Matter of fact, it's important to do that because you could take these very serious subjects, wrap them in a way that your audience is more likely to receive them, and that enhances their visibility and exposure and memory and recall. So is it frivolous? Does it undermine? Quite the opposite. It's so important. We need to make sure that we're entertaining and effective, and that we're entertaining, that we're engaging, that we're interesting in some way, because it makes those things more effective. Go ahead. Yeah.
Ronnie, it strikes me that why doesn't a senior executive or even a CEO say, look, I don't want training that wastes everybody's time. I want people to be productive. Give me effective, short, targeted training. Why wouldn't a leader want that?
That's exactly right. So we've addressed the general counsel and the compliance officer's concern. Like, we want to make sure the message gets heard. It's certainly by making things shorter and more entertaining. You're not making it worse than it already is. Like worse, it's as good as the current training that's there, right? But what does a leader want? Hey, we're back to making products and services and selling our products and services and doing those things. Just don't waste my time. So let's jump into that one. Things that are short, fun, and frequent, right? Train less, communicate more, takes up less time, right? You're not chasing down completion rates. It takes less time to make. There's a bunch of companies like mine that have the model which is we're giving you access to a suite of materials, so we're not even charging you per seat. It takes less time to chase down completion rate, takes less time to produce through the learning management system or to put it in a newsletter. It takes less time for employees. So from a timing perspective, you're getting increased exposure by doing things shorter, more frequently, and spending less time trying to chase down with those negative messages like finish or else, because we're making it easier for them to complete it. So from leaders always want to do things that are short and interesting and take up less time. If they're giving you a hard time about having more compliance communications, it's because they're expecting it to be really boring and long and preachy. So if you take away that objection, it's not going to be boring, long, and preachy. You will get increased rotation and access to those training and comms channels. I don't know. I often think that we should sell our products to leaders and to the leaders of the business, not to the compliance officers, because it's exactly what they want. Something short, interesting, and doesn't waste anybody's time. And so anyway, it debunks that objection. What could go wrong? We could take up less time, cost less money, and engage them more.
Ronnie, I once, years ago, I don't know if it was Rockwell, but it was a large aerospace company. And every once in a while, they would send me an email saying, I saw you had this news report. Can I use it? And I'm like, of course you can use it. But the reason they were asking me that was they were doing a curated news report of 10 stories a week and sending it out. And these were just compliance people that used it for engagement. And it's always stuck with me because you don't have to do sort of the top shelf. You can be very organic and you can use the tools that are out there if it engages, but it's seen as a part of an overall messaging strategy. And so I wanted to maybe explore in an earlier podcast. I think I asked you about sort of having a plan over a year, but do you ever have the conversations with clients that there's a variety of tools in the learning and entertainment toolbox, and we can deliver different types of messaging, different lengths of messaging, and different types of engagement? Do compliance officers understand there's really a wide variety of things you can do, and you're in many ways only limited by your own imagination?
Yeah, absolutely. Continuing with our theme of what do you got to lose? What could go wrong? Why not? So we've addressed like what a compliance officer is concerned about. They want to make sure that you're mitigating the risk of the organization and you're not being frivolous. And so we've addressed that. We know that these tools help with that. We've addressed what leaders are concerned about. It waste less time. It takes up less time away from the business. What do learning people want? Learning people want to make sure that the stuff is engaging and affects behavior. And this, again, doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but the idea of curating a variety of different kinds of programming is much more effective than producing one kind of programming. If you're like, all right, here's the training for the year, let's put a lot of money into it, the risk of that engaging everybody, I constructed that sentence poorly. The risk is high for engaging fewer people because it's one thing. curating a variety of different smaller investments, if you will, or touch points or learning strategies, and spreading those out throughout the year. So a variety of engagement styles in a variety of formats and styles throughout the year is a much more efficient and effective way to mitigate risk, and because it mitigates the risk of any one initiative. So you can engage more people over time, different learning styles, different ages, different sensibilities. There's no right answer there, right? There may be some people who just want to read the policy, sure. But everybody goes home and watches TV and listens to commercials and listens to podcasts and watches trivia game shows and all those things. So the more that we can take those kinds of styles, whether you're putting a lot of money behind it or not, and making little games and little stories and little memes, or pulling things from the news or pulling things from other sources so that you have that variety, is a much more effective way. So again, what do you have to lose? It certainly couldn't engage people less than doing just the law. So by my count, we've addressed the lawyers and compliance officers, the leaders' interests, the learning professionals' interests. I'm not sure what other ones we have to get, but the point is, so far, what have they got to lose? So far, it certainly can't be worse.
What about the UX? What about the user experience?
Yeah, that's the most obvious one. I didn't even think about it. Who doesn't want to go out through their day with something surprising or interesting? Again, they don't want to want their time wasted. They're like, gosh, I got so much to do, and now I got to sit through this hour training or this 30-minute training. And what do they do during that training, particularly if they're working from home? That's when they're checking their emails and doing their laundry while they're having it play in the background, or muting it or whatever, or calling their buddy. Like, they're already doing workarounds. So giving them something that's shorter than surprising, it gets their attention, engages them more, has them think, even if it's for 2 minutes, about who you are, what you need. Compliance is important. Here's where the policies are. They're great. I'll bookmark that for later. And if it's rewarding, they'll go, oh, that's fun. And hey, did you see that compliance video? And then they're telling friends, and then they're getting more friends to talk about compliance or talk about ethics or talk about these important things. So at worst, you're showing them where to go more frequently, so you can get that repetition and recall, like it's more on the front of their mind, their working memory. And at best, they're thinking about it and talking with their friends about it, and then it starts to become more part of the ecosystem. So yeah, like, what employee doesn't want to have a bit of fun and a surprise and a smile in their day? It's almost self-evident that the employee is never the one who's, go back to that old boring thing that we used to do. That never happens. It's us getting in our own way. Again, what do we have to lose? It can't engage less. It doesn't cost more. It takes up less time. I'm not saying that the stuff that I do is perfect. I'm just trying to take this opposite approach and go, like, I don't understand why more companies wouldn't try it. We have evidence out in the world that this works. We have conservative global companies who are having success. Like, I don't, part of it, maybe I'm too close to it. What am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything, Ronnie. I think that's a great message. And frankly, I don't think we asked that question. I'm not sure anybody in compliance asked that question. So maybe we need to put that into our compliance question quiver and pull that arrow out and shoot it every once in a while and say, what do we got to lose?
Yeah, truthfully, they probably do think it all the time. Like, I'm very fortunate. Our business has grown every year. And I believe the reason behind that is because it is a more effective solution. Short, fun, and frequent. Train less, communicate more, be engaging, empower leaders to carry these messages forward. I believe it's important, and I'm going to continue to talk about these things in value add ways, in positive ways. But it is kind of fun to kind of go, I don't know why they make the bar so much higher for comedy and entertainment. Like, even if the joke doesn't work, it's still more interesting than the way that we've been doing it historically, we being the compliance community. So what do we have to lose? Let's try something different. At worst, it's going to be as good as things are now. And at best, we move the ball forward and are more engaging and interesting, and hopefully build a more ethical, thoughtful, engaged workspace who are all rowing in the same direction.
That seems like a great note to end on. Ronnie, you want to tell everybody to come back and listen to us again?
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate you for coming back and listening to our Every So Often podcast. We're going to keep trying to get more guests involved. We hope you'll keep listening. Yeah, I don't know if we have a mechanism for this, Tom, but we know a lot of people. If you have suggestions for things you want to hear about, message us and we'll start including those in future podcasts. Thanks, everybody.
Compliance Podcast Network. Start your mornings with daily compliance news, quick, sharp updates on the top compliance and ethics stories in under 5 minutes every morning in Compliance Podcast Network. Because compliance never sleeps. Need practical advice fast? Check out Compliance Tip of the Day. One actionable idea to level up your program. Short and sweet, every day on Compliance Podcast Network. Got 10 minutes? We've got the week's top 10 stories. 10 for 10 brings you the big compliance headlines. Fast, fun, and focused. Every Saturday on Compliance Podcast Network. And don't miss the Sunday Book Review, where compliance meets culture through must-read books and big ideas every Sunday in Compliance Podcast Network. Whether you're in the office, on a walk, or commuting, stay smart, stay ethical, stay tuned. Only on the Compliance Podcast Network. Available wherever you listen to podcasts.